So this video I came across, the new American Dream, was really a thing that I saw. It's from at American Baron on TikTok, and it just sort of made me think. Oh, there's a lot that we could talk about here. I have some, or I feel like I have some ideas, and this could be a good topic for our show.
I think the new American dream is to leave. To go to Hemingway's Paris, say goodbye to all that, live somewhere walkable where a busted arm won't kill your credit score. Things can be nice. That's what hits a naive American jumping 2 inches outside their border. That Starbucks doesn't really fill that void inside you. That you don't always have to buy stuff to fit in. I long for that aesthetic romanticism, just like every other Yankee sucker. Beautiful old people drinking coffee all corny like in a movie. Food that hits you right because it's actually made of food. Just feeling safe, for Christ's sake. So do I pick up and move to the other side of the world while I still have healthy knees to do it? Well, no. I came, I saw, and it hit me. Moving to a pretty city won't fix you. No matter where you go, you just keep running into yourself. Escaping isn't the crazy and brave thing to do. Staying and facing yourself is. And I know, I once said it too. You only live once, don't be a hero, take the money and run. But geography won't make the blank page go away. Every place I lived in, no matter how nice it is, you always wind up looking for Neverland again. Whether I wake up stateside or in an anonymous Dutch country town, I've got to wake up as me, in this body, wearing this face, with the same questions. Who are you? What are you doing here? What will you do now? Hemingway's Paris, Didion's California, Sinatra's New York, they're all out there somewhere. But they're not in Paris, or California, or New York. They're in the search of it. The wishing.
I thought this might be. Well, I like the idea. I like the concept. It got me thinking, and I thought you would like it as well. And I thought it might also play into this sort of nomadic romanticism that you have.
Nomadic romanticism. That's fun.
Right.
It fits quite well. It does. I'll give you that. It's funny. So the first time that I watched it, second time I watched it, third time I watched it, all of them elicit ever so slightly different thoughts after the fact. The very first time, it was more focused on the waking up with yourself piece. That to me was a really interesting take on how to think about what the video is kind of getting at. And then it kind of morphed into not so much waking up with yourself, but making your environment be what you want. Like your surroundings are malleable to an extent. And so once you understand what you want, what you desire, projecting that around you, being a path to take. But then this most recent listen through, as we were getting ready for the show, I have this kind of odd response to it where I don't completely know that I really paid attention to the ending prior. Like everything up to the ending, I think still fits and feels solid enough. But there's this one little twinge, maybe is a way to think of it, where I'm going to harp on a specific piece of phrasing about the journey or the search for the destination, that piece not necessarily being important. I didn't pick up on that previously listen-throughs, and that is the one thing that I would say I don't necessarily agree with in conjunction with the other thoughts. And I don't know if maybe at this point, because I've heard it a few times, I'm just kind of digging further in than I should. But at a high level, that's kind of been the evolution of my thought process after listening to this video, without going into detail, because I assume we'll do that here in a moment.
I was just thinking, did I mishear that? I was maybe I've heard so many times, it's the journey, not the destination, that I just misheard what he said there at the end. So I was just, because it seems like it would fit to be like, it's the journey, not, with the rest of what he's saying, it seems like the journey, not the destination, is what fits. Because the journey is what shapes you, well, I think maybe it's even a misnomer to think that the destination is an endpoint. Because once you get to the destination, you do things at the destination, you live at the destination for however long you're at the destination, and it's not an endpoint.
And I want to also interject real quick that I may have just misheard it on this listen through, because the first couple of times I did not hear it that way. So I will go back and listen to it again as well. But I may have just heard the phrasing differently this time because I was focused on other pieces.
Well, I was going to say whether, I think it's an interesting thing to think about whether, because I never really thought about it, but trying to, I do agree that the journey is important and that it is, it does help define you, but to think about the destination as an endpoint, or the goal that you're seeking as an endpoint, it might be incorrect, because you don't die when you get to that place. It's just that this particular phase, or the journey phase of your existence has ended, and the existing at your destination begins. But that's still,
I'm going to challenge that.
Go ahead.
Because I do think you're logically thinking through it in a way that makes sense. I think the piece that a lot of people forget or don't think about in the same way is we think of the journey from a beginning point to an ending point, right? Like definitive X and Y. But that's not what a journey is, other than if you think about the journey of life being birth to death. So abstract that a little bit to a journey being some level of transition from point A to point B. And there may be some level of existence at B for a while. Maybe it's short, maybe it's long, doesn't matter. But that doesn't mean the journey is ended. That's just point A to B. You still have to go to C, D, E, etc. And we tend to try to make everything that we want to talk about fit in between A being I was brought into this world and B being I leave this world. And that's just not how journeys work. It's not how road trips work. It's not how vacations work. It's not how any other physical journey works. So why we try to pigeonhole a life's journey into this one segment seems absurd to me. But we do it all the time. We box in, I was born and I became successful and profitable, and the end of my journey is, enjoying retirement. That's not an A to B relationship. That's a A to B, C, D, E, F, G. Maybe you're at S by the time you hit this retirement phase. But then this retirement phase is a journey in and of itself.
Yeah.
Or an extension of the journey through a different set of scenarios.
I think that's what I was trying to say, is that, the journey is important, is kind of the idea that, all right, the destination is where you want to be, and if we could teleport there, we would. But, we don't live in that world, and so the process of getting from point A to point B is also important. And if you were to fast forward through that, if you could somehow not teleport, but fast forward through that part of your life and, not have to exist with the boredom such as it is, or the, the mundaneness of it, you would miss out.
Yes.
So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how the phrase is going to change. Or, it might be one of those things like burning the candle at both ends where it's so out of context after teleportation has been become a normal form of transport. Yeah. Anyway, the other parts of it, I feel like.
But before we move on, the one other piece that I would mention is that there's also an acceptance or an understanding that destinations change. So destination 1 might not be the actual ending or destination point. That's the other piece that we tend to conveniently forget, is that as we move toward a destination, oftentimes we change our destination.
Yeah.
And then with that, we can move into the other pieces. It's just when talking about a journey, transitioning from a point to another, multiple things potentially evolve. That's just kind of what I wanted to make sure I mentioned.
A lot of what I liked about this was that it focuses on the fact that if you're where you are now and you're unhappy, it made me think of this. If you're unhappy where you are now, you get to this other place and if you don't fix what's wrong with you internally, you're going to be unhappy there. So if you're unhappy in Birmingham, Alabama, and you think that moving to New York City or California or Paris is going to be the thing that makes you happy, maybe there's some things there that will make you happy, but whatever it is that's making you unhappy here is going to be making you unhappy there. Or whatever it is that's making you happy here is going to be, can make you happy there too.
Yes. So I have no disagreement with that whatsoever. The way I would emphasize it, just to call it out a little more explicitly, is it put the onus on the individual and recognizing the individual's influence on both emotional state and perception in a way that I haven't seen generally called out in most videos of this nature. And that was a very nice thing to see.
Yeah. It's like, because I think I think he continues to advocate, do, travel, go, see, be, do, enjoy. But also there is if you're not reflecting, if you're doing that to distract you from what is internally problematic for you, then, it might only temporarily distract you, and you're not going to get the fullness of the experience if it's just if you're using it as a distraction.
So what I like about it is to me, it goes beyond that into a metaphorical look at, it doesn't matter what it is, you have the ability to affect your perception of the world and your perception of the place in the world. And those are the only things that can affect your happiness or unhappiness. You can't feel happy as a result of travel or relocation, which is what this is specifically trying to talk about. But you also can't fill that void with material things or experiences or anything else. Any change or adaptation to being fulfilled or being happy or changing your outlook on something starts internally. And it's only through that internal change that you can manifest what it means in your environment to also be happy or fulfilled or enjoying the activities around you for the activities themselves and not as a distraction.
The other thing that it's not explicit in there, but the other thing that I thought about that, from his musings that, I went to is that, like, it's also really important to take care of your body, because at the end of the day, no matter where you are, that's who, that's the vessel that, maybe that's a way of thinking, but that's the vessel with which you're contained. And if it's not in a good way, then it's hard to be happy. I think as when we're young, we get glimpses of this when we get sick, and it's just like, oh, if I was always feeling like this, it feels like it would be very hard to exist in that way.
It's interesting. I follow for sure where you're going with it. I didn't think about it in quite the same fashion, which is that I thought about the similar mindset of it doesn't really matter where you are. Take a next step. Just put one foot in front of the other and try to improve. And I wonder how much of that is based on recent, I'm going to say recent, over the past, let's just say 3 years, recent life experiences and focus versus potentially a difference in generational outlook on what the supposed message was. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because typically speaking, I have a fairly, I would say realist, others would say pessimistic. We'll go with realist. Outlook on kind of what people are trying to say and what they're trying to actually get across in their messaging. And this one, to me, felt a lot like it was, look, your problems are internal first. There may be some level of environment that can help influence it, but you have to focus on whatever is internally a problem before you can expect anything else to follow and be positive. And so the focus is take a step toward making improvement on whatever that internal issue is. And it's probably going to be something that you're going to falter on, but you continue to take a step and another step and another step and another step until eventually you get to a point where you recognize what it is, you can understand it in a way that allows you to negate any negative influence from it and start to transition from being trapped within yourself to shaping your environment and your response to your environment in the way that makes you happy and a positive contributing member of society, et cetera, et cetera. Which is, to me, actually more optimistic in interpretation of messaging than what you're describing, unless I don't fully understand what you're describing. Does that make sense? It feels really kind of convoluted, but I think it gets the point across.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe I could say in terms of, as he was talking about, traveling to here isn't going to make you happy because, it's like this place, like the place where you are now you see all the, you see the certain problems and they make you unhappy. And you look at this other place, I like the, I think, what did he say? Did he say anonymous Dutch town or Dutch anonymous town in the Dutch countryside? Well, they have their problems too. And maybe their problems are better than where you are, but they do have problems. And what I gleaned from that was that wherever you are, you can work to be a part of the solution and help solve some of those problems. And maybe, but I also don't want to negate the idea that it's like, what, there are some places where you just need to leave because you're never going to solve those problems in your lifetime. I often think about there's a guy I knew who just was unhappy living in the South. And a lot of it had to do with his orientation and how unaccepted it was here. And he moved to New York, and that made him happy. And I thought that was a great thing. So, like, that sort of contradicts what he's, on the surface, sort of contradicts what he's saying. But it's not an untrue dynamic. And I know I'm meandering a bit here, but the point I was trying to get back to was that in the same way that the place here might be a problem, it's like you're own person, internally, and externally, physically, those things have to be taken care of for happiness. I'm not sure that I cleared that up any better.
No, I think you did, but I think it's interesting to back up and point to this thing that seems counterintuitive, because I don't think it actually is. The way this video tries to convey the message is that you have to understand your internal dialogue or your internal demons first. And understanding yourself allows you to fit your particular
I think
manifestation sounds wrong, but
I like where you're going. You have to understand who you are and what's wrong with you internally before you can know that where you are externally is the right place for you to be.
And subsequently, whether or not where you are is a place where you could be where you need to be, or if actually relocating is a requirement.
Yes.
As in the case that you were describing. Because I do think there's a very real connection between I just don't need to be here.
Yeah.
And everything about here constantly recreates this internal monologue that is detrimental to my existence. And the main thing with that is I didn't want to gloss over that being a very real part of this.
Yeah.
What I think this video is really trying to convey is that it's too often that people look at external factors only and not actually understanding themselves to be able to make decisions on what next step to take.
Yes. I think you're exactly right about that. You can't, it's the classic treating the symptoms and not.
I have no response to that. I know you heard me kind of laugh in the background. It's just because I love adding in a medical analogy to something completely non-medical, because it's fun. But it's 100% appropriate. Yes, completely agree.
It's sad that we don't see it as a medical issue, because it is.
It is. Mental health is part of health in general. And it is such a pet peeve of mine that we don't offer support for mental health in an easily accessible fashion like we do. Like we sort of do, if you're talking about the United States. We
pretend to do.
Yeah.
Or we've tricked people into thinking that we do.
We successfully do in certain income brackets.
Fair. Well said. Yeah, I just, I don't know if this is going to be in the show or not, but I'm just like, and it's like, I'm sick of the people who are resorting to saying, mental health. This was a mental health issue when responding to firearm related tragedies, and because my next thought is, how much mental health legislation have you blocked? What have you lifted a goddamn finger to better access to mental health? Like, actually do it? No, probably not.
I'm going to include this just because it's difficult when we start talking about this particular topic, because I have extremely strong opinions on our failures with regard to assisting people through things that are legitimate mental and emotional health crises. But I also have really fucking strong opinions on the fact that we don't do anything to regulate firearms in any way that makes sense. And I say this as both a avid learner with regard to the behavioral sciences and an avid enjoyment of firearms owner as far as I like to shoot shit and blow it up. There absolutely should be stronger regulation on gun ownership. There absolutely should be required mandatory safety classes, a specific basic standard of if you're going to own a firearm, you have to have these things met and they have to be updated. Every 3 years, 5 years, like that part, I don't have as strong opinions on, other than the fact that you should not be able to get the ability to own a firearm at, say, 18 or 21, whatever age you want to choose, and it be in effect in perpetuity until you die. To me, anything that is in effect like that is bullshit and should not exist with regard to something that is very much a life or death debate. All of that being said, it's interesting to look at the intersection of responses about this being a quote-unquote mental health issue and inadequate restrictions to access of firearms, because they tend to feed one another in a way that doesn't seem to be duplicated in any other arena. And I'm sure there's something else that is similar that I'm just not thinking of or aware of. But that one particular set of situations and cross points is very unique in the United States.
Yeah. I heard an interesting viewpoint, and I'll describe it to you, but I'd love to close this show out with this another audio clip.
I'll give you the Second Amendment. Defend the Second Amendment with all of your heart. If you also defend every other amendment, or know what they say. Amendment people are hilarious. Freedom of speech, right to bear arms. I'm tired. Like, what about the rest? There are so many. Like the Seventh Amendment. No one ever cares about the Seventh Amendment. Why doesn't anyone ever defend the Seventh Amendment? None of you even know what it says. Some of you are trying to think of it right now. You're like, is it plead the Fifth? No, that's the Fifth Amendment. The Seventh Amendment says that every civil matter involving more than $20 can go to full jury trial. Or maybe it doesn't. You don't fucking know. My point is, either amendments are sacred or they're not.
We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.